is Michael Wyke, and I am responsible to look at the downtown area of Albuquerque and East Downtown, and looking at how those two areas mesh together. We're looking here at Central Ave, or Central, and the extent of my area that I'll be looking at is Walton, or the highway over here, and 3rd Street, which is in downtown. Right now, currently, downtown is completely separated from East Downtown by the rail line here that you can see. And so my primary focus is twofold. One is reconnecting downtown to East Downtown. As you can see, there's very few connections. Central goes across and Martin Luther King goes across, but nothing else goes across. And that causes a lot of traffic backup, because all of these streets that feed to Martin Luther and Central all get backed up because it's the only two ways to really cross to get from downtown and East Downtown. So one of the major ideas was to connect Copper across and Marquette across to allow twice the connections to get from East Downtown to downtown. As a result, it will likely cut your traffic requirements on Central and Martin Luther King in half, just by virtue of giving people an alternative option to traverse between the two areas. The other thing I'm looking at is there's a lot of energy around the Innovate ABQ area, and how we can capitalize on that energy and move it north with all the various property owners as you move north towards Lomas. We had a meeting with the property owners, and a lot of them really like what's going on here. They see a lot of potential for downtown Albuquerque, and they've sort of banded together and want to, collectively work on a collective vision for the East Downtown area as well as the downtown area, and how they can, work across the railroad tracks and also interface with the railroad tracks. You can see in here, if you zoom in, there's a lot of the property owners have expressed interest in really interfacing, fronting the railroad tracks. So they're talking about providing a pedestrian promenade as you go up and down the railroad tracks, with shops, makerspace areas, cafes, maybe some breweries along there, all very light, 1-2 story type stuff along here, very industrial, hip, funky kind of building types along there, but really to activate the railroad and to sort of celebrate it, because Albuquerque is here because of the railroad, not really any other reason. So, to bring that energy back to the railroad is kind of exciting. The other thing that we're looking at is when we do infill areas like this, we really want to keep places walkable. And so looking at Central, there's a lot of open lots as you go down Central. So just looking at what those lots are, what they're zoned for, what their capacity is, and then talking to various property owners and looking how we can infill those areas, just to create a consistent pedestrian frontage, which is activated by storefronts and buildings that make it enjoyable for pedestrians to traverse along the street. There's one station here that I'm looking at. This is the Edo station, and so we have 2 large infill sites on either side of that station that we're looking to build on, both with residential over retail. So there'll be shops and cafes around the station, so you can get off from the train and pick up your jug of milk when you come home from work, or whatever you need to get. And and then there's a couple other small site locations that we can infill as well. Back over on the downtown side, there is a station on Copper and 1st Street, which is one of the ART stations. So just looking at that, and basically having taller buildings which are more respective of downtown, maybe 8-story type buildings, mixed use, retail on the ground floor, residential above, but that will also frame a plaza for the ART station to stop as well. And then looking down 1st Street, now we can really activate 1st Street with the old train station and tying in the old stop. One thing that we heard was that there's a lot of stuff at the train station where people get dropped off that they like to sell their goods and stuff. So sort of continuing this energy of this pedestrian promenade and little shops along the rail line is sort of the intention as we move south. So one of the concerns that I heard early on was I had a design here which was basically a turbine plaza, which Jeff Speck, when he did his walkability study, looked at this intersection here, which is the one north of Copper. And he had a turbine plaza here, but I went out with a couple people, the landowners here, and looked at it, and the topography and everything doesn't allow you to make a formalized square here. But we worked with our transportation engineers, and one of this road that comes through here that kicks out to Martin Luther King Boulevard, we've heard is a very dangerous thoroughfare. It's a dangerous intersection. Multiple pedestrians have been killed there, bicyclists have been killed there. So trying to control that is, one way is to pull this through and rebuild this street grid that downtown and east downtown have that's so clear. By doing that, we really control the traffic, and they can disperse however they need to at Broadway, just like they did before, but in a much more controlled fashion. By doing that, we have this street that comes down and then 90 degrees into here, which allows, a much safer connection for bicyclists, pedestrians, cars, because they can look left and look right at 90 degrees rather than looking back over their shoulder.